You're standing on a dock in San Francisco, 1875. The air smells like salt, coal smoke, and spilled whiskey. A man you've never met buys you a drink, tells you it's his birthday, says there's a whole cruise leaving in an hour. Free food, free booze, everybody's invited. And by morning, you're chained to a ship bound for China. And that birthday boy, he's already counting his money back on shore. This is the story of Shanghai Kelly. He's known as Shanghai Kelly, but his real name was James Kelly. He's an Irish guy born around 1820 and came to California for the gold rush. But one day, he was drugged and found himself on a ship heading to Peru, where he worked on ships, essentially as a slave, for a few years before coming back to San Francisco and getting into the crimp industry himself. He eventually became the king of the crimps. Crimping, or Shanghaiing, was the practice of kidnapping men and forcing them to work on ships. A drug drink or a blow to the head, and you wake up at sea. And if you're anything like me, you've never heard about crimping or Shanghaiing until just now. So here's the breakdown. Back in the 1870s in San Francisco, ships came in from all over the world. Silk from China, grain from Australia, whalers from the Arctic. But the moment a ship tied up at dock, the whole crew just vanished. There was gold in the hills, there's silver in Nevada, land you could just claim by showing up. Why would anybody spend months eating hardtack on the ocean when you could just start a new life in Gold Rush, California? So ships sat in the harbor for weeks, sometimes months. They were just rotting at anchor with nobody to sail them. Desperate captains started paying cash, $25, $50, $300 a head to anybody who could put warm bodies on their decks. And it didn't matter if those bodies were currently conscious, and it didn't matter if they agreed to go. So Shanghai Kelly's claim to fame is this one particular event. There were 3 ships anchored in the bay. All 3 captains go to our guy, James Kelly. They collectively need about 100 men. Now Kelly, he rents a paddle steamship, then spreads the word around the docks, free birthday cruise, free drink, everyone welcome. And sure enough, 100 men show up. Kelly stands on the deck, raises a glass, and says, "To all my faithful friends, you've made me what I am today. Now down the hatch." Within 3 hours, every man on that boat is unconscious, drinks laced with opium, laudanum, and chloral hydrate. Kelly pulls alongside the first ship, loads them on the cargo nets, hauls them over the rail. Second ship, same thing. Third ship, same thing. He gets paid 3 times over. And on the way back to shore, luck hands him a gift. He comes across a ship that has struck a rock off of Point Conception. Taking on water, the passengers are panicking, so Kelly rescues every soul, brings them aboard, breaks out the real whiskey, no drugs this time, just the celebration. And by the time they dock in San Francisco, a happy, drunk crowd stumbles off the gangplank. The city sees exactly what it expects: a party boat coming back from a birthday cruise. Nobody asks a single question. Now that was the peak of his career. But the machine that made it all possible had been running for years. Now, Kelly's main operation was built around one simple fact: his building. At 33 Pacific Street, it sat on wooden pilings directly over the bay. At high tide, a rowboat could just pull right up underneath. Upstairs was a bar. Warm and lively, Kelly was buying rounds and laughing harder than anybody else. Downstairs, a trapdoor. His runners would row out to arriving ships, befriend the crew, invite them in for the best drink in San Francisco. Back at the bar, the drink was waiting, laced with opium and a bunch of other stuff I can't pronounce. He had a signature mix called the Miss Piggot Special, named after a female crimper who ran a rival joint down the street. He also handed out cigars laced with opium, called them Shanghai Smoke. Half the time, a guy would get drugged from 2 different directions before he finished his first drink. And when the target started going under, Kelly made a show out of it, slapped the guy on the back and laughed. This guy, he can't hold his liquor. The crowd laughed along. Nobody asked any questions. Kelly's men carried the drunk out the back, except the back door led to that trapdoor, and the trapdoor led to the boat, waiting in the water below. The boat rowed out to the ship anchored at the bay, and by morning, that ship was gone. So in 1890, just 1 year, the port records show 1,168 men were shanghaied out of San Francisco. Over $71,000 were paid out in crimping fees. More than 400 businesses got a cut. The saloons, the boarding houses, the clothers. And the city looked the other way because too many people were making too much money. Now, here's one victim's story. William Davis. He was a cabinet maker, a family man, lived near the Great Salt Lake with his wife and kids. Around the mid-1870s, he comes to San Francisco looking for work. He stops at a bar on the Barbary Coast, that's the rough waterfront neighborhood. About 6 blocks of saloons, brothels, and boarding houses where the police didn't go unless they went in force. He has 1 drink, and his family doesn't see him again for 8 years. 8 years. Shipped from port to port, forced to work, trying to survive long enough to get home. And when he finally makes it back, his wife has had him legally declared dead. She's remarried, and the kids grew up without him. That's what Shanghaiing actually looked like. Not an adventure story, a life erased. And it happened to hundreds of men every year. Kidnapping free men, forcing them to work, and selling their labor. What does that sound like the definition of? Slavery? Yeah, about that. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in 1865, but in 1897, 32 years later, the United States Supreme Court ruled that Shanghaied sailors were not protected by it. Justice Henry Brown wrote the majority opinion. His reasoning was that seamen were, quote, deficient in that full and intelligent responsibility for their acts that is accredited to normal, ordinary adults. They too stupid to deserve freedom. That was the legal logic. And that ruling kept crimping alive for another 18 years until the Seamen's Act of 1915. That is what made Shanghaiing finally a federal crime. 50 years after the 13th Amendment, the government was still arguing that some men didn't count. So whatever happened to Shanghai Kelly? Nobody knows for sure. One story is that he got shanghaied himself again later in life. Same way he came into the business. Loaded onto a ship, never to come back to San Francisco. Another story is that one of his own runners shot him. Either way, the king of the crimps didn't die in a courtroom. Didn't die in a hospital bed. He just vanished. Just like his victims did. Ricky's Historical Tidbits is a show designed to teach you about events or people in history that textbooks either skip or only touch with a paragraph or two. Your time is valuable, so I keep every episode fairly short. Most are under 20 minutes. And if you found this interesting, please share it with someone you think might enjoy it as well. If you have time, check out my other episodes. Subscribe on whatever platform you're on so you don't miss new ones. All episodes are available as video, article, or podcast, all of which can be sent to you via email if you sign up for my Substack email list.